يعني هل يمكن إذا كان كبار قادة الأحزاب
If
السياسية الإسرائيلية
the
وبعض أعضاء
senior leaders of the political parties do not believe Netanyahu, so how could we
دائما
believe him as
الغرض من
Arabs?
هذا
He's
أظن
very
أن الغرض من هذا
excellent
الاجتماع
to
هو
escape, and
تغطية
I think
بعض سقوط
the purpose of
الجناح
such a
المتشدد في
claims
إسرائيل
is to
فقط
try to
بالتأكيد
please
سموتريتش
some of
وشفير
the
شفير
fall of
هو
two
يريد
members such
تغيير
as
الكابينت وهو
Mustrich,
معجب
as
بالنجاحات
they
المحققة
threaten of
ويريد أن يدمر
withdrawal of the
الديمقراطية.
cabinet, and he
واليوم
wants to have to
يعني
rest assure him that he's
بيتم ضرب
hardliner,
النار
and
بالاتفاقات.
the
ومعنى ذلك
spokesperson
أن
of the national
كندا تعلم
security
تماما أن نتنياهو
in
قرر أمر
Israel
قدر الإمكان أو
denied this,
قام
and
بعمل
they know very well
لإخفاء
that
الحادث أو
he's
العثور على
capable of escaping
المطالب
or
الجديدة من
to get
الأطراف.
more
وحتى
demands of the
المفاوضات
agreement.
استمرت
He
حتى
escaped
الوقت
several times
في يوليو
before,
الماضي
even
على
if he
اتفاق
signed
كان
in the
تفاوض
last
عليه مع
July
ويليام
in
بنت
agreement.
المخابرات
William Pillman
المركزية.
had agreed already,
ظني الشخصي أنها المحاولة
and I
لمساندة
believe
الحوثي
it is
يختلف
the last attempt to
إما أن يتهرب من
create
المسؤوليات
an
أو يحصل
excuse
من
to
بعض
let him
شروط التفاوض،
escape or to
لأنه كما
improve
نعلم هناك
some of the
مظاهرات
conditions of
واسعة في إسرائيل تصف
negotiations.
هذا الاتفاق
As we
بأنه
know that
اتفاق استسلام، وأن
administrators in
نتنياهو
Israel
لم يحقق الأهداف
describe
التي
this
رفعها
agreement as a
الحرب.
surrender, and Netanyahu did not achieve his own objectives since he announced it at the beginning of the war.
Now, of course, we have protests in Israel, which shows some public opposition to the ceasefire deal. What effect might this have on the Israeli government's decision making?
الأثر كبير وواضح. يعني حينما
The
تقوم
effect
بسحب
is
صورة
great
رئيس
and
الوزراء
clear
الإسرائيلي
when you
ونموذج
mobilize
يليق أن تظل في
the
إسرائيل
population
وفي
of
الحاضر
the
وهو
far
دعم
right wing that
نتنياهو
support
للمهمية
Netanyahu's
السياسية
government. Most of them are the far
والمشددة.
right
وواضح
handliner.
أنهم قاموا
And I
بعملية
think it made some
وبناء
sort
الخطة
of divide in their roles in the
سموتريتش
beginning, as
يريد
Mutrich
الإعلان أن
and
نتنياهو
Binga
لم
fear
يستمر
pressuring,
معهم
and
هذا
Netanyahu
بيان
shows
قوي
himself
أن
that he's a
يستمر في
moderator, try to
المفاوضات كانت
contain
الطريقة
such
قبل
pressures.
تحقيق
In that
أهداف
way,
استراتيجية
strategic
استراتيجية
objectives
على المدى
were
الطويل.
made
نجحت حسب
on the
الرأي.
long term.
طبعا الاجتماع
Unfortunately, they
الضخم
succeeded.
والتطور
The
القفز
great
الأكبر
achievement is
للفلسطينيين
scaling
هو
around
إنهاء
more than
رأس الحرب
50,000
في
Palestinian, and
غزة
transfer
وخفض الصفوف
Gaza Strip as
القومية.
a place
هذه
cannot
أهداف استراتيجية
unapplicable for
حققت
them. These the
إسرائيل،
strategic
لكن ذلك
target
يعتبر
achieved by
ليس
Israel. You
بالضرورة
know, from another hand, if you
الانسحاب من هذه
mobilize your
الخطة
populations
ثم
and
تأتي
by
دولة
saying that
أخرى
you gain the absolute
بنهاية هذه
victory
الخطة تقوم
and
بعمليات
come
واسعة
and made an
وبعد
agreement
ذلك
with the Hamas,
تقضي على
which
المشروع
means that you never
تحرير
eradicate
غزة.
Hamas,
تظاهر
which
في
one of the
لبنان
demands that
ظني
Netanyahu
الشخصي
claims
أن
to
الأمور لم
achieve.
تكن
My
بالطريقة
belief is
الرغبة.
that they never
أعتقد أن
wish
نهاية الحماس
to
ربما تكون
totally and ultimately
مفاجأة.
eradicate
نتنياهو
Hamas,
يريد
but
وجود حماس بشكل
undermine their
واضح
capabilities.
متكئا
Maybe they
للصراع
want
مع
to
حزب الله
Hamas to be
والمقاومة.
a pillar that he can rely on in this conflict with the Palestinians.
And Hamas has hailed this agreement as a victory. What does that say about the broader Palestinian political landscape?
أي اتفاق يمكن
Any
إلغائه
agreement
سيوقف
to
العدوان الإسرائيلي
to yield for a ceasefire, massacres and destruction is a victory for the Palestinian
الشعب هو الذي
people.
ضحى وهو الذي عانى
The
هو الذي
people
استمر
who
في الصراع ضد
suffered
الاحتلال الإسرائيلي
and
حتى
sacrificed,
ولا أظن أن
and I do
المجتمع
not
الفلسطيني
believe that
مع
the
المجتمع
Palestinian resistance
الفلسطيني.
suffered as
هذه
much as the
هي سر الفرح
Palestinians people.
والاحتفالات
This is the
الفلسطينية.
secret
شعب
of the
الفلسطينيين لم يستعد
Palestinian celebrations,
لأي شعب
as
آخر.
people want
تخيل
to
حينما
live
تعود
as
إلى
the other
الحريات
people.
الدولية اللي هم موجودة
Try
الآن
to
لا
go,
ترى الحياة
if you wish to
موجودة
go home
بالكامل
and you
حينما
found that is not
تنزل
exist.
بيوت
The
وهناك
same
أمطار
goes for the
تصبح هناك
neighborhood, the
من شمال
people
قطاع
in the
غزة
family.
وهي
Most
سجلات مدنية كاملة
several
لعائلات
districts were eradicated
فلسطينيين.
and
وبالتالي
several families
ما
were
بقي من
killed.
الفلسطينيين هو
What's left from the
مظاهرات
Palestinians,
وهذا
they
الصوت.
have the right to celebrate for such a halt of a fire.
Now, the mediators are heading to Cairo for further talks. When it comes to the mediators, Egypt and Qatar and the United States, what role do they play in ensuring the agreement's success?
Naturally, the three countries are the most engaged parties in the process of mediation or calm. Egypt, since the beginning, had the biggest role in delivering the humanitarian assistance, exerting all diplomatic relations to put an end to the aggression. Qatar is the main financer of Hamas. The United States is a great supporter of Israel, of all the treasuries and the military arsenal. These three countries, they can be the guarantees, particularly the United States, Egypt. Qatar could be the biggest guarantee for Hamas, and the United States the main sponsor for Israel. So they may assist to assist in reaching an agreement and then to attempt to protect it and most importantly to guarantee its enforcement in the ground.
And of course, there are Israeli airstrikes continuing at the moment in Gaza, despite the announcement of the ceasefire. Do you expect these to continue through to the beginning of the agreement on Sunday? And also, what implications does that have for the implementation of the agreement?
Firstly, as we all know, we never used any respect of conventions and agreements. They have only the belief of the forces. They did something like that with Lebanon, never to abide, violated several times, legitimately and unlegitimately. Naturally, the agreement never into force yet, and hopefully to take effect on Sunday. And they wish to prove that they can make the airstrikes until the last moment. And we've seen that demolition full houses in the northern of Gaza. And I imagine, even following the implementation of the agreement, Israel will continue the same pattern they following in the southern of Lebanon, pretexting that there is a threat for its forces.
And what challenges might arise during the phased implementation of the agreement, especially when it comes to troop withdrawal and, of course, those important prisoner exchanges?
I do not believe if Israel violated the big burden for the United States upon the arrival of Donald Trump. Western report argued that envoy of Trump that pressed hardly upon Netanyahu and they said frankly if in case of not reaching an agreement he would be spread in the Middle East. It wasn't meant by Hamas only but Netanyahu also. There's no reasonable reason. The secret of Netanyahu's approval but the direct pressure from Trump. It's a fact. Netanyahu never listened, never responded to all the Biden's calls that he was implicitly in supporting this aggression. But it seems that Trump's work was decisively and clear and crystal, and therefore Netanyahu had to agree, as said in the Israeli newspaper, that we've been forced to sign such an agreement.
And how realistic do you think it is that this 6-week truce is going to be the big foundation for achieving a permanent peace in the region?
There is no real and realistic guarantees. The truce aren't between two clear parties. One part that committed the genocide, and there is a weakened parties, which is the Palestinian people, suffered a worsen massacre in the modern history, and the only guarantee is the United States of America, and it is the main power for Israel. And if you cut this line of power, so Israel will be weakened again. And so it is only way to practice the pressure upon Israel for the U.S. interests in the Middle East. The American party is number one, and the struggle of the Palestinian people and the reconciliation between the Palestinians following the second day in order to avoid any pretext to be taken by Israel. That would affect the Palestinian people, not for any other organizations.